Sam Sleuthen from the UK. Does anyone else think he pled guilty to murder as a way to avoid trial and public scrutiny like Watts? Sam, there's no offer. You can't just plead guilty because you want to. There's no offer from the prosecution. They didn't know. Yeah, the offer is the death penalty. Do you still want to plead guilty? Oh, I didn't know that. You know, I don't think anyone's going to plead guilty when the penalty is the death penalty. And look, this first trial, of course, for the images on the phone, that in itself is a life in prison case. I don't think that is in fact a death penalty case, right, Mike? Because no,
that part isn't a death penalty case. Just the murder would be a death
That's
penalty
been incorrectly reported on a lot of different channels, and I think the law was changed where perhaps now it could be, but the ages, I think it was below someone less than 12 years old. I think it was, so it may be not a fit. And I mean, it doesn't matter. He could get life in prison for that, and then waiting in the wings is a death penalty case. And Sam Sleuthen from the UK, he's not going to plead guilty to a death penalty case because no one, even savages like him, do not want to plead and lose their life and, get the death penalty. Sherry, thank you so much. Detective Myra Tegler took his phone. Thank you. And we praised her throughout this case. I thought she was great. I loved her low-key way of getting statements from defendants like this guy. I loved her low-key way of explaining to him why he needed to tell her certain things. And, there were some things during this case that we didn't love. The interview by the two detectives that they should have went after the murder and not the SA case. They had him by the Quillones, if you know what I mean. They should have went after that, and they did not. And we criticized that because in this business, you only get one opportunity. And once one of these defendants lawyers up, as we all know, the interview is over, So you have to use some trickery. You have to use some psychology. You have to use some common sense. You have to use some logic. Yeah, use logic with a guy who just murdered a 13-year-old, But believe it or not, it works. It absolutely works. So Superfly from the chat. Yes, Stearns has something cooked up. I think that's why he stopped talking to parents and not talking to nobody. Well, look, whatever he's got cooked up, he doesn't really I don't think he's got a shot at beating either one of these cases, to tell you the truth. And again, everyone always wants to hear he's innocent to prove him guilty, but this case has more evidence than almost any case I've ever seen in my entire police career. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, Billy, he may try to cook something up with his attorney, and I think probably his attorney has told him, don't really communicate with your parents because they might go on TV and talk about it. So please don't talk to them about anything. If they want to see you in person, that's one thing. You're not too far away, but don't communicate with them in any other way, in any sort of recorded kind of conversation. Don't do that. So I could see that. Yeah, he doesn't have much of a hand to play. I think also with the defense attorney, part of the reason why she wants to stretch out the timeline for the homicide case is that the homicide case will occur probably 2 years after if he gets convicted of the SA charges next year, next September. Okay. I'm sorry, next February. Now he'll be in prison for 2 years. And then I think the defense attorney, I think she might want to go to the county prosecutor and say, look, do you still want to do a death penalty case? He's in prison. He's got life behind bars without possibility of parole. We could, what good is it going to do putting him to death? He's going to, it's going to take 30 years before he's ever executed. Let him, make an offer. We'll plead guilty and we can wipe both cases off them, done. I think that's also part of her strategy is to do that, stretch it all out, and then therefore take the value away from the death penalty case. so that it'll be redundant, because all you're going to get, you may get the death penalty, you may not. And that's a big gamble, because it only has to take one juror to say, yeah, I'll convict him of murder, but I don't want to see him get the death penalty. So that's a big gamble that the prosecutor's taken. I think if there was some sort of deal that could be worked out with the defense and the prosecutor well after the SA case is over, I could see that being a long-term strategy, because I'm putting my head around this, trying to figure out why on earth, a defense attorney would want to do something, why a prosecutor would want to do something. But I think that's where she's going with this case.
Absolutely. Kay from the chat. So this court appearance was only on the essay and images and photos on his phone and computer. Well, yes, but they set up dates they had to lay the foundation for the dates of the two trials, because he's facing two trials. These cases are separate from each other.
Yeah.
Is there any way, Mike, they could have charged both of these at the same time?
I mean, they could, under the theory that, the homicide occurred during or after the commission of SA, to cover up what the victim may be screaming, shouting out for help or something like that. They could have done that, but they chose not to, and I think for the prosecutor, I think that's a good move not to charge them with both, because you have one trial and you've got two huge issues, the essay and the homicide. If for any reason the case goes sideways, or you get a really a bad jury, you got one shot at the apple. Here, if you do poorly on the essay charges, say, for instance, he beats them. Just say he beats the charges. Miracle of miracle, he beats the essay charges. He still has the homicide case. So therefore, as a prosecutor,